Hi there, students. Apophasis, a noun. It's another one of these that most people are not going to know. Apophatic, an adjective. I quite like this one. Apophasis is something that you do in rhetoric. This is where you make reference to something by denying that you're going to mention it. So in my speech, I'm not going to bring up my opponent's questionable finances. I'm not going to bring up the fact that he was arrested last year for punching a policeman. I'm not going to talk about my opponent's long battle with alcoholism. I'm not going to mention the fact that my opponent was arrested for shoplifting and has been arrested various times. I'm not going to make any reference to the accusations of wife beating that have been made against him. Okay, so this is apophasis. Yeah, this is speaking apophatically. It's raising an issue by saying you're not going to mention it. I'm not going to discuss his past crimes. I'm not going to make any reference to the violent streak in this, and I'm definitely not making any charges or accusations against him for violence. Okay, so it's a way of mentioning something without doing it. So that could be apophatic rhetoric. But notice as well, we can also use this apophasis in theology. Apophasis in theology is defining God by stating what God is not. Because God is such a difficult subject to define. It's something that's effectively impossible to define. Therefore, apophasis is defining what God is not. And if you define what God is not, then you can know God through what is left. Yeah, it's an apophatic theology, negative theology. So using this, it's a way to describe what God is. Yeah, apophatic, knowledge about God obtained through negation rather than saying God is this, God is that. No, you say God is not this, God is not that, and therefore it gives you a much better, a clearer idea of what God is. This word apophatic doesn't have to be with theology, though. You can an apophatic description defines all of the things that something is not, things that are not characteristic of it, and therefore it gives you an idea of it. So apophatic theology, the opposite of that is cataphatic theology, which is where you say what God is, but I think that's much harder. So let's go back. Apophasis in rhetoric, alluding to something by saying I'm not going to mention it. Yeah, regrets, I've had a few, but then again too few to mention. So I'm mentioning them by saying I'm not going to mention them. Okay, so I'm not going to mention his poor vocabulary. Okay, so yeah, it's effectively mentioning something by saying that you're not going to say it. Yeah, a rhetoric device, mentioning a subject by stating you're not going to mention it. I'm not going to discuss the lies he is known to tell, nor am I going to discuss his cowardice or his lack of honesty. Yeah. Okay, so this is saying I'm not going to mention it, I'm not going to talk about it, but yes, I mention it by saying that I'm not going to talk about it. Okay, and then apophatic. Okay, you could have apophatic prayer, apophatic thinking, apophatic language, and apophatic tradition. Okay, it's effectively saying it's not this, it's not that. Yeah, and I'm not going to talk about this, I'm not going to talk about that. Okay, so formality. Let's see. I think apophasis as something as a form of rhetoric. 7.5 in formality, maybe an 8. Apophatic, apophasis, to talk about theology. 8.5, 9 in formality. Very formal. I think all of these are words that you would write in a formal writing or a semi-formal writing, but I think probably nothing less. And then as to origin, we've got ancient Greek apophatikos, okay, or kataphatikos, affirmative or negative. Yeah, so apo, away from, phatikos, away from reality, away from the truth, apophasis, denial, negation. Yeah, apo, away from, and phasis, the statement or the proposition. Femi, to speak. So enough. If you enjoyed the video, give it a rating. Subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now. Apophasis. Apophatic.